Welcome back, Airbnb family. My name's Donnie. I'm a 5-year super host, and I work here with Sean Rockagic's online team. One of the biggest questions we get on this segment is, hey, do I even need to buy a course? Well, Sean will be the very first one to say that, no, you don't need a course. We put up more free content than anybody else on the internet. And today, our guest is Gabe. Gabe Kubanda here has taken all of our free content and scaled his business to over $350,000 gross. And today we're going to have an amazing talk of how he used the free content, how he built his business from 0 to about 11 units today. So welcome to the show, Gabe.
Thanks so much for having me, Donnie. I super appreciate it.
Yeah, I love having you here. Could you give our audience just a quick intro, 30 seconds? Who are you? Where are you from?
Yeah, my name's Gabe. I'm in San Diego right now, but born in around the Seattle area and lived most of my life Seattle, Los Angeles, and Phoenix. I moved to San Diego a little over a year ago, and I started kind of the Airbnb business in earnest here full time. And before, I'm a musician, and I own a small music nonprofit called Edumusication, which I also run from here, the command center. And that's me. I'm a musician, former touring artist, and entrepreneur.
And I think that's where we could even pick up the story because you were a touring artist. I think you were doing something like 100 dates a year before COVID hit. Is that right?
Yeah, 100 to 150 or more a year for about a stretch of 10 years. It was pretty intense. So it was, being home for a month to 3 months, booking a tour, doing all the back end for that, and then actually going out on the road with several bands and myself performing. We'd go all around the country. We would do a lot of college shows. We'd do a lot of military-based shows, a lot of festivals, and it was very DIY. We were first rolling around in like a school bus that got hit by a semi truck with us in it. We all survived. That's another whole story. And we picked up from there and eventually got a full-fledged motor coach that we retrofitted, put in bunks and living areas and kitchen stuff, and toured that around the US. We started branching out internationally, got to tour all over the world, and then COVID hit and canceled all of our tours in just within a matter of a couple weeks. And that's when I was like, oh, dang, we got to find a way to pay the mortgage.
And so what was the gap like and how did you discover Airbnb? Because all of a sudden you got no more income. So you got a mortgage to pay. How did that journey go from touring in this motor coach to Airbnb?
So I wanted to dabble in Airbnb. I'd heard about it, I was, even when I was touring and being on the road in other countries, we would always stay at Airbnbs because we'd have, 10, 12 sweaty guys and gals, like broke ass musicians, and we couldn't afford hotels. So we would stay at Airbnbs, and I got to see, the really awesome Airbnbs that were just like perfect, and just everything that could be imagined would be done perfectly. And then some where we just got ripped off and there were like dirty mattresses in the corner of our room, And also one where we got all our stuff robbed at right outside of the house in Liverpool, England one day. So I got to see kind of like what makes an Airbnb really great and what hosts are not doing that are just horrible. And so I had been wanting to dabble in that in between tours. And so I had been kind of watching a lot of stuff about Airbnb on YouTube and stuff. And I had found Sean Rockagic's page and Airbnb Automated, and I was starting to ingest that information. And so when, the kibosh happened with, concert touring and COVID, I kind of instantly was like, all right, let's do this. Let's try this. And it was at first just turning the office room into a bedroom, renting it out for $35 a night, and just trying it out, and had some great experiences, some bad experiences, and then just grew it from there.
Really cool. Really, really cool. By the way, I think you're the very first guest to ever pronounce Sean's last name in the first try. Well done, sir.
Bam. I got it. I have a weird name too, so I try to pay attention to Yeah, how it's
You know the
pronounced.
pain. You
Mhm.
guys both have been traumatized in elementary school, so it's perfect.
100%. That is the truth.
Every attendance has been brutal. Um, what's interesting is that, as we said in the beginning here, is that you didn't jump into the paid course, and actually you were in our free community, and you asked the community, "Hey guys, successful hosts, what did you guys do? Did you guys go with the free course, or did you do YouTube and Google?" And you got back over 40 responses. I'm just curious, what did you learn from a lot of those responses?
Well, when I initially did it, I was really thinking about taking the course, but I didn't have a lot of money, and I wanted to make sure that I could try to do it on my own. But that was just kind of an assurance of like, hey, you can do it. You can try it. You're going to succeed probably a lot quicker if you do take the course. It might be a lot more painful if you try to do it on your own and make all those mistakes. But sometimes that's how you have to learn, right? You kind of have to
Mhm.
jump in and just grab the bull by the horns and do it. And I didn't have a whole lot of time, and I didn't have a whole lot of resources at the time. And so, one thing I loved about the Airbnb automated free content that was out there was that it enabled me to start with what I had at the moment. I wasn't having to go out and buy something or having to go out and find our rental arbitrage. I was doing it where I was living at the time in Phoenix. And uh, my business partner in the tour, who also owned the house where I was living, was like, "What are we gonna do for the mortgage, man?" And I'm like, "All right, we got to do this. Here, I heard about Airbnb. Let me take this on. Let me try to, I'm not touring. I'm not making any money. Let me try to make money and pay for the house this way." And it was very quick to see. It was very quick to see that it was able to be scaled up, you know. And so when I moved out to San Diego a year ago, a little over a year ago in April of 2021, I was like, you know what, let's do this for real. And then I was able to scale, and just signed on my 11th one, which is my first international date in Tijuana. And I'm furnishing that one this weekend.
I can't wait to connect all these dots and ultimately get
I
to
know, right?
Tijuana. It's such an amazing journey. But your very first one, I love this journey because I started the same way. I started with Sean's free content. It was my best friend's place, and we just outfitted it and went off to the races. Was it an entire house you started with, or was it? It sounded like it was a bedroom.
Yeah, it was just an office room that we just converted into a bedroom real quick, just for that purpose. And it was already in a house. I was living in the room next door, right next to it, so I was able to monitor it. I was able to kind of hone those hospitality skills.
Hmm.
And it's odd. It's very odd looking back because a lot of the skills that I've learned in the music industry, dealing with musicians, which is like herding cats sometimes, a lot of that kind of those patience skills and patience and preparation and all these other things and how you converse with people. Um, a lot of that came from my background in the music industry, and I feel like it kind of flowed over nicely.
How long were you guys renting that room for before you started on your second listing?
Almost about a year through the first kind of year of COVID. And when housing prices started going through the roof, my business partner was like, "Bro, I got to sell. It's an amazing time." And I said, "Hey, great. I was thinking about moving to San Diego. My grandma's out here. She needed help. She's 93. I wanted to be near her. Um, she doesn't have a great living situation, so I wanted to be near so I could help her out." So I specifically found a little 3-bedroom house about 7 minutes away from her, so that I can jet up there anytime I need to go handle something or help her out or just visit. And I was specifically looking for arbitrage places where I could do arbitrage, so that I wouldn't have to be shouldering that rental burden all by myself.
Hmm.
Because coming from Phoenix at the time, very cheap rent, right? Going to San Diego, one of the most expensive rents in the world at this point. I'm like, dang, that's the only way I could do it at the moment, was to do arbitrage and let the guests who are staying in my house pay for my rent. And that worked out phenomenally well. And I was able to take that money that was coming in and start putting that immediately towards other listings.
Incredible. So you just house hacked it to the definition of.
Yeah. Always with the owner permission though. Like I would never try
Always.
to like scam it, and be like, no, they're just my buddies.
Yeah, that's this isn't Atlanta. We're not playing that game.
Yeah, yeah.
Home of the illegal Airbnbs. Love you, Atlanta. So we're in San Diego now. So we you got that full year of experience. It's really good that you had those complementary skills, but was there anything that really caught you off guard that you had to really think on your feet? Any war stories, battle stories?
Oh yeah, a ton, especially in the first year. When COVID hit, I had my rates starting out super low. Like I said, 30 some bucks a night. First couple of guests were great. Third set of guests were like these homeless, like meth addicts, like crackheads that ended up doing like black tar heroin in my room, and I had to call the cops. And the guy who booked it was on like the one of the mugshot websites, and had a bunch of like felonies and warrants out for his arrest. And it was pretty hardcore, like kind of dealing with those kind of things. But as most of you guys know, like 99% of your guests are great human beings, and they're kind and conscientious and normal. You do have to every once in a while deal with a crazy situation. I've learned a lot from those. In fact, if anyone goes to my listings, they'll see that my rules are slightly harsh on the upfront. And then when they actually come in, they're like, "Oh, Gabe's such a nice guy. We thought he was this hard ass." But it's
Let's touch
because,
on that. Sorry,
yeah,
go ahead.
but it's because I learned from having some really not good people take advantage of me, and kind of crafting the wording in such a way to deter a lot of those people. So now, 99.9% of the time, they're just, upstanding, great people.
I hope somebody who's watching this clip, they do go to your Airbnb because your welcome paragraph is not very welcoming. It's not like you land in Hawaii and they put the lay on you like, welcome to Hawaii. Yours is more of, no, no, I'm following the rules. I'm fair. I'm a great host, but I host by the Airbnb terms and conditions. There's something along those lines. Have you found that that's what was the best deterrent is just keeping it black and white from the get-go?
100%. When it's too vague or there's too many unknowns, people can kind of come to their own conclusions and kind of make it up and get away with things. Um, you know, uh, I had some girl try to, uh, have dudes paying to come over to see her, trying to, and I had to kick her out. That was another thing that I learned is like, okay, uh, to kind of, limit. So keeping your rules really, really tight up front. I think the good people, especially Airbnb guests who are used to Airbnb and used to being in people's homes, they kind of understand that, like, oh, the more rules that this person has, the better. As well as I built up quite a huge. I'm a super host. I have 300 5-star reviews, and that does speak volumes as well for people. They feel safe to come here.
Right, right. I really want to get into your journey in San Diego, but you just brought up something that's really interesting is that you have very high ratings. You have a lot of properties that are all 5 stars, 4.9 and above. What's your secret to happy hosting?
Uh, well, it's getting harder the more units you add, right?
That's right. Ask John.
But there's a lot of stuff that I learned from Sean. I want to thank him at some point in person because a lot of that stuff I gleaned from his videos, and a lot of it was setting realistic expectations, setting realistic, outline of what people can expect and what we expect from them, and making sure that your home or your properties look exactly like the photos. So there's no misconceptions or anything like that. So you see my photos, they look dope. They look super clean. You walk in person, it looks like this. It looks
Mhm.
beautiful. It's never messy. It's never, weird. If it is, that's a very off day, or something happened, but for the most part, keeping your standards high, keeping yourself to a high standard. And it helps if you love it. It helps if you love hosting people. It helps if you love the hospitality aspect, the adventure of the unknown, the entrepreneurship. I love the design element. I thought I was only creative with music, right? Being a musician all my life, but doing this really got me thinking that I do have more of a visual creativity and an eye for, design as well in that way. So that was kind of a new experience for me.
Did you design all your own properties? They were all empty and you furnished them?
For the most part, some of them, there's one that I bought, the Canyon View Craftsman, that you guys will see on the thing. It's a gorgeous old 1925, like overlooking a beautiful canyon. That looked so well when I bought it that I bought the staging company's furniture with it, and the stuff that that they had to take with them, I sourced myself and kind of kept it in that same type of vibe. But for the most part, most of them I've either done with myself or with the help of some friends and owners and stuff.
Wow. Well, you have a very good eye for design, because when I looked at yours, I thought they came fully furnished and you're co-hosting them because they look well lived. You know, the
Mm,
difference between a brand new Airbnb, it's still very sparse, whereas yours look like somebody's lived in there. The soul is in the property. So well done, my friend. You're killing it there.
thank you, man. Yeah, yeah, I strive for that actually.
I want to get into some nuts and bolts here because you didn't take the course, but you're still doing very well with rental arbitrage. So you land in San Diego. What were kind of like your talking points with landlords to make them understand the business model, but that yet it was still safe?
Honestly, it's funny. I was thinking about this the other day. Sometimes my initial plan would backfire with the landlords, and not in the way that people think. Yes, you're going to make 100 calls to you see a house on Zillow that's for rent or for sale. You're going to see you're going to have 100 no's, but you're going to get some maybes, and you try to convert those maybes over to yeses, right? So one was cold calling and explaining to them what I wanted to do in a way that where it wasn't like, hey, I'm going to make a bunch of money off of you for using your property, for the arbitrage ones. And that took some time to craft, and a lot of no's to try to like turn to get more yeses by refining my sales pitch kind of a thing. It's like, no, hey, I'm going to come in, I'm going to make your house beautiful. I'm going to up your value, up your property value by doing some upgrades. I'm going to keep your property in rent ready or sell ready condition, so that if there's a year lease or 2-year lease or whatever, you can do whatever you want out of it. And you're not going to have 3 months of downtime to fix all this stuff that was broken by a crappy tenant. But the way that it backfired a few times was I would go to an open house and I would say, hey man, oh yeah, I'd really love to rent this. I'm thinking about maybe living in the back unit and renting out the front to travel nurses and corporate workers, because I have a lot of those, which I do, who need places, they need furnished places to stay. In this market, there's tons of military, there's tons of traveling medical professionals who need furnished spots that are under 6 months. And they don't want to sign a year lease if they're only going to be there for less than 6 months. And they don't want to furnish it and pay for all this stuff if they're going to be leaving and have that headache. So there's a real need for that here. And so I kind of doubled down on that. And so I would approach owners and say, yeah, man, I'd really love to do that. And it backfired in the way that the owners started saying, oh man, I've heard about this. I wanted to do it, but I don't know how. Could you do it for me? And I'd be like, okay, yeah, let's see how this worked. And so I ended up signing several kind of co-hosting deals, like property management deals, where I intended to go in and pay the rent, pay the deposit, furnish everything myself, fix it up how I wanted it. And instead, the owner furnished everything. I don't have to pay a cent. And I just take my commission off the top and run it through my Superhost platform, because they do get Superhost right off the bat, because it's in a Superhost account. They have the platforms of all my channel managers and my pricing algorithms that I'm paying for. They don't have to pay for that, but they get the benefit of that. So really, I have a mix now of like ownership, arbitrage, and co-hosting. And it's because people are kind of aware that they can make more money off of Airbnb or midterm rentals, short-term rentals. They just don't know how to do it. And like, if I can do it and just put it under my platform and make it a lot easier for them, shoot, there's no upfront investment for me. My money I can use towards other things, and they're happy with it as well. So it's kind of a win-win.
Your story just echoes mine almost identical. It's so funny, and it's one of the perils. It's the pros and cons of going on your own, right? You're just so smart that you figured out how to craft the sales pitch and just really being active listening and understanding, okay, this is kind of working. I'll keep this. I bombed here, or all these homeowners keep getting the scrunchy face, ask me more questions if I say that. So love the process. So for those that are listening, one of the biggest things that we've gone over is that you got to speak in the benefits of the landlord. How does this benefit them at the end of the day? And that's all they're listening for. And one of the cons of going on our own is we make bad deals. And so that's what happened to me too. When I started, I didn't know what deals to make, didn't really know what types of properties would make the most, made some bad deals, really kind of slowed down my progress. But ultimately, I find that gives us more weapons, because now we understand how to craft the deal in any condition and any sort of numbers.
Oh, 100%. And, I always tell people that are interested in doing this, and jumping in, it's like, hey, you can do it on your own. There's enough free content out there. But it's going to take you longer. You're going to have more pitfalls, more of a learning curve, sign some bad deals, as opposed to if you upfront the money for a course and you learn all that on the front end. Yeah, it's more of an investment up front, but you minimize your, mistake making period, and
Your
just
margin of
getting
error.
your margin of error, right? It's much less. And so, if I, looking back, if I knew what I knew now, I've been able to scale up from as soon as I landed in San Diego with one, I started going on another, and, so I hit the ground running pretty hard. But I can imagine if I was to have taken that course back in the day, I may be up to like 25, 50 properties at this point. And I only have single family homes. So I haven't dipped my toe into multifamily or apartments or anything like that. These are all physical single family homes and studios for the most part.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Have you gone full time with short-term rental, or you do have the music business on the side as well, right?
Well, so because I knew I wasn't sure when touring would come back, and I didn't want to bank on that. And so I was having so much fun with learning this kind of new business that I started doing music more as a part-time thing. I actually was just in the studio yesterday finalizing some mixes with my producer, and those are sounding really, really good. And I'll be having some new music coming out probably December or early next year. And I'm just super happy about it. Like, they just sound amazing. A lot of times I'll do my demos right here in the room. I use Logic. I have a few pieces of gear, some nice monitors, but I'll kind of craft my demos, write my songs here. And then when I talk with the producer, he'll kind of help me weed out the fluff, weed out the kind of, crappiness, and get it to like a radio quality, like, radio ready product. So yeah, a lot of the magic just kind of happens right here.
That's amazing. Are you hosting now, or sorry, are you touring yet? Back with the band?
Nope, not touring. I'm going to be doing select tours only now. I was touring
Gotcha.
so much, I got so burnt out on it. I actually just hired my first assistant, who's going to be doing a lot of the day-to-day stuff for me, so that I can get back to more music, get back to my nonprofit, and do more of my edumacation courses, which are free courses for high school music students about the music industry and how they can succeed, and talking a lot about music career kind of stuff. And now also I've got this new property in Mexico, and I'm thinking I might even want to expand further down there. I'm really loving it. I'm loving just the culture, the food, just everything about it is just awesome. So Yeah, got a lot of stuff on the horizon.
Yeah, let's jump in there right away because that's so exciting. You mentioned a lot of things, the culture, the food, because now you're thinking more than just, will this make money? It's a true sign of you're much more not elaborate, yes, but you're looking deeper into the experience. So talk to us about how you got down there and ultimately how did you end up getting this first house in Tijuana?
Well, it's funny. I almost signed a lease for one in Tijuana. Well, let me back up. I, a lot of major cities, especially huge destination cities like San Diego, are imposing a lot of um, state mandated, taxes and everything. Here we pay 10.5% extra to the state for anyone who stays under 30 days. They just input a lottery system, and that's going to affect a lot of owner operators as well. And the margins are a lot smaller in areas like this because you're in one of the most wealthiest places, in the country. Your rents are higher, your mortgages are higher, everything's higher, your sales tax, state tax, everything. So your cleaners, I can't get away with, paying cleaners what you guys pay your cleaners out in the Midwest, right? That just wouldn't be, um, you know, uh, good because just the cost of living is so much higher out here, right? They need to survive too. They need to start learning how to, build their wealth as well. So I'm really cognizant of that. I want to pay my cleaners well, my handymen well. So your profit margin is smaller out here in these type of cities. So because of all this state and city imposed kind of restrictions coming in, I wanted to have a couple more properties outside of that where I could have a bigger profit margin and um, but also still be close to where I could drive to it and check it out if I need to. If my cleaners or my handyman didn't do something or something, really bad happens. I like to be close to mine. I don't have any outside a 10-mile radius at this point. Most of mine are in this immediate neighborhood. Like I can walk to 4 of them.
Oh, what a dream.
It's amazing, right?
I got one across the street and it's my favorite one.
Right. It's so great. And then I have a couple down by the beach, and if I ever want a staycation, on an off day, I just go and crash by the beach. And that's another thing I talk about a lot with people is I feel like saving money is making money, right? So if you're saving money, someone's paying your rent. You can go on vacation down to the beach for free because it's an off day and have a staycation. You're not paying somebody else to rent their house or a hotel. You're saving that money to put towards something else or to put towards your retirement or your future. So just a lot of hopefully, just kind of facts that everybody should know, but it's hard for us to actually do those things.
Yeah, yeah. So you're down in Tijuana now. Have you closed on that property yet?
I have. I signed a 2-year lease with the owner. It's a gorgeous 4-bedroom, 3-bath. It's ADA compliant, so I'm going to be making it available for handicapped people as well, and
Incredible.
accessibility things. So I think that'll be really, really cool. I've wanted a place like that where I could really have it for special needs and stuff, and really cater to that, to those people that just there's not enough houses like that.
Hmm.
And I just want to have a really cool house that those people with those disabilities or different abilities can use and be happy with. So this one's it's 4-bedroom house, 2 blocks from the beach. There's all sorts of new construction down there, tons of new coffee shops, new restaurants, new businesses, lots of new medical and tech going into Mexico. And so I think it's just a burgeoning area that I could do something really great in and also help improve the neighborhood as well. Um, I'm one of those, like, I want to improve the neighborhood where in with all of my houses. I don't want them to be slums. I don't want them to be contributing to a bad element. Um, you know, I want to be cognizant of the neighbors around and the ecosystem in those neighborhoods.
That's very holistic of you. Very, very worldly. That's a great way to operate, without a doubt. You'd mentioned that you actually are about to hire, or you have hired your first hiree, your first employee.
Yep, just hired my
Okay.
first employee, training them up right now. That's going along really, really well. I forgot to mention, last year, I jumped into the Turo game as well. So renting my cars out
Yes, I was going to ask you about
on,
that.
and that's been an interesting journey. Now I have 6 vehicles on the platform. Sorry, 5. I'm uploading a Tesla tomorrow. So that'll be 6. And not only am I renting those cars out on Turo, but when I can bundle those cars with the Airbnb experience, that is a really magical thing for the guests because, you know, a guest comes off the airport, they're tired, they don't want to wait in a whole long line at the rental car place or get a car that they didn't order, get something that was smoked in or just not nice. You know, they walk out of the airport, jump in my car, go to my house that they got, and it's just a seamless, and then they drive it back, drop it off, go on their flight. They didn't have to deal with any extra people, any extra paperwork, any extra rigmarole. They just know that, like, hey, it's on Gabe's platform, it's on Kubanda Properties. We're going to get that 5-star experience across the board.
And you're renting it out via Turo, using that
Mhm.
platform to facilitate the whole thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
Wonderful. Was that a fluke, or was that more of engineered, or did you just have your car that was free and thought, hey, why not rent it out as well?
No, but this is a funny story. Um, so uh, sadly, my touring company went bankrupt due to COVID. Um, and I had all this music gear and a giant 15-passenger van. I was driving around in a giant dually trailer with all the gear in it. So when I got out to San Diego, I needed to sell those off to help pay down some of the tour debts that we had incurred. And because, no governmental assistance for the artists. So that was rough. But so I'd been driving around buses and shuttle vans and vans, for the last 10 years. I hadn't even owned a car. And I was like, you know what? I want a nice car for once. And so I went down and I bought a Lexus, a really nice hybrid. I wanted to save money on gas. So I bought a Lexus and I was like, I heard about Turo. It's kind of like Airbnb for cars. It's like, what if I could do something where I can do both? I'm working from home. I'm recording music here. I'm doing my edumacation sessions with music students from here. I don't have to drive a lot. I could rent out my car when I don't need it. And that's how it started. I was like, I'm going to get a nice car, have the guests pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as that, I kind of proved it to myself that I could do it. I was like, oh crap, now I'm spending all this money on Ubers and Lyft rides because I don't have a car because it's rented. I got to buy another car. So that kind of like accelerated from there.
That's interesting because me and my girlfriend were just about to test out our first Turo. So got hers fixed up, and we literally just asked that question. Okay, well, when your car is rented, what are you going to use? So it's funny. It's coming full circle. You have this blue car. I've never seen this vehicle before. What is that?
Oh, that's my Vandy.
The Vandy.
So it's a Vanderhall. It's a Vanderhall Venice. It's a Utah maker called Vanderhall. I think it's Salt Lake City. It looks like a kit car, but it's actually so it's a 3-wheeled roadster in a way. So it is freeway legal. It is street legal. You do have to wear helmets on the freeway. It's very tight inside. Like if you're with a big person next to you, man, you're going to be touching a lot. But it's so much fun. It's turbocharged. I think it goes 0 to 60 in like 4.5 seconds or something.
Oh, get out of here.
And it's so light, and it just got a big Batman, like Batmobile wheel on the back, and it just looks so cool. It has all the old like analog kind of switches and knobs that I gravitated towards. It's an open air cockpit, so it just has a small windscreen, And so like a car like that, it's very niche. Not everyone's going to rent that. You can't rent that for your family, as much. As 2 people can, be in it at a time. But it rents out for more than Teslas are renting out for, And so a lot, same kind of idea with the houses where I want to have a house that caters to different people or different sizes or whatever for each one. I want to have a different vehicle for every kind of situation. So I've got the Vanderhall that's kind of fun and sporty for, dads taking their sons out on graduation, or, husbands taking their wives out on an anniversary and a cool thing. I've got the 4Runner that seats 7 for families. I've got the Lexus, that's a hybrid that saves people on gas. I've got a Jeep now that caters to that crowd. So I want to have a little bit of something for everybody. And then, like I said, I can drive whichever one's not rented, and I don't have a car payment.
That's
And
so
that's
cool.
the coolest thing,
That's so cool. Airbnb has our host guarantee where, anything damaged in the house, they cover per million. And it's rather easy to get the claim from Airbnb. How does that work on Turo? Is it about the same? Is as easy for damages?
It's similar. I would say it's a little harder just because you're dealing with an auto body, right? Especially if it's something, that you need to take into the shop
Hmm.
for. But yeah, they do try to be good to their hosts. I've been lucky. I haven't had too many things happen. One thing I did, I'm not like a mechanic. I don't know enough about cars, especially like hybrids or, Teslas, to be doing my own work other than changing oil. So I bought all my cars new so that I do have a large warranty period on the car itself. I'll get an slightly extended warranty on it. They're brand new, so they're not going to have a lot of issues. Their first free, checkups are free usually. Their first 2 or 3. So I kind of skewed it that way, and also to kind of maintain kind of a more upper crust quasi luxury
Hmm.
vibe as well.
I love it. This new person that you've hired, are they going to take more of your portfolio, the cars, or more of the music? What are they going to handle for you?
They're going to handle all the day-to-day stuff for the cars and the Airbnb. So it's like silly stuff like changing batteries in your keyless entry locks, or getting the car washed and gassed up and ready for the guest. Dealing with some messaging, although I have a lot of automation set up, so that's not too
Hmm.
too much off my plate. Um, so that I can focus on the bigger picture stuff, growing the company, getting back to my music, being able to do more music, and just kind of freeing up a few more hours in the day for me to kind of enjoy life.
I love this because I think everybody gets into Airbnb. I shouldn't say everybody, but a large portion of people get into Airbnb to free up their time. Because at some point, especially after COVID, they've realized that I just hate having to ask my boss for when I can take time off and if I can take time off. And ultimately, I also hate that I'm putting in all this work and building somebody else's company. You have gotten to
Exactly.
the point where now, you've got this company, it's growing, you know it well, so you can focus on the things that you want to do best. What is that timeline for you from Seattle when you were doing that first property to now where you're heading to Tijuana and getting that first employee to take all the small stuff off your plate?
Well, it started in Phoenix actually.
Sorry,
From
Phoenix.
Phoenix to uh, so from Phoenix to San Diego was just 1 year, basically March 2020 through 2021, and moved to San Diego in April. So 1 year doing one house in Phoenix, kind of cutting my teeth on it, making all the mistakes. And then, yeah, from April through now has been a little bit over another year. And that's been where I've just seen the growth take off. And I wanted to make sure I was doing the most that I could before I handed off to someone else. So I wanted to have it really established, as well as, and I think that's usually around 7 to 10 to 12 properties, depending on the size. Some
Yeah,
of my
I think so.
properties are pretty big. I
Hmm.
mean, I was cleaning all the houses myself up until last December before I hired a
Wow.
cleaning team. So
Wow.
sometimes I'd have to clean like 2 or 3 houses in one day, and it was like just killing me.
Hmm.
Or, I would notice the quality would start to suffer because I would just not be able to get to everything in a given day. And it was just, uh, sucking the life out of me. Right. So, hiring a good cleaning team, having a good handyman, and now having this assistant kind of manager um, to kind of be the in between and picking up all those other pieces of the things that would go on during your day, you know, uh, is really just the next step in the evolution.
Could you give our guests a little insight into when you knew it was the right time to start hiring someone?
I think I knew it was right time to hire someone probably 6 months ago, and I just didn't do it. Because as we were approaching summer, it started to get pretty busy, and all through the summer, when you're in a vacation market and it's summertime, people are using your houses much more. There's more people using them. There's more families with more kids, and so just realizing the amount of things that just naturally break, or guests do something dumb. I had some guests say that they promised they weren't going to party and they partied and they threw a bunch of shot glasses into the garbage disposal.
Oh dear.
Then they tried to run the garbage disposal
Yeah.
to remove the evidence. And so the cleaners called me going, the garbage disposal is making weird noises. So, you have to go out there, cut myself like, oh, there's a bunch of glass in there. Disassemble everything, dump it all out, charge for everything. And then all the while you have a guest coming in 2 hours, and
Yeah.
it's like just you're sweating balls. So, a lot of those kind of things, or if a handyman can't do it and you have to go fix the toilet, or you have to go deal with whatever, right? I will say doing as much automation, thoughtful automation as possible is key, because I think I've been able to scale quicker and not have to get an assistant up until this point because of those automations. And so I use a channel manager, I use pricing algorithms, keyless entry locks, of course, ring security systems, so that I'm really not having to do as much physically that takes up a lot of the time.
Right, right. Is there any secret automations that maybe you have found that's given you the 80/20 progress?
I'm still working on that, but I think there's one program called Remote Key, I think it's called, and it syncs with all your remote locks, so it will automatically provide guests with their own codes every time. Problem is, they don't do all of the locks that I have. I have too many different remote locks, and some of them don't work with them, and some do. But honestly, the biggest thing has been a channel manager, because I use HostAway. That's my secret sauce.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's not the best looking platform, but it's the one I've learned the best. And to be able to have all of your listings coming from all your different sources, whether it's Airbnb, VRBO, TripAdvisor, Expedia, Booking.com, in one central calendar, one central messaging, one central financials, one central, plus a direct booking site, which I'm just starting to use now, and just starting to get into. I think that's made all the difference in the world.
Are you using HostAway's direct booking, like the standard one, or have you used somebody else and connected it to HostAway?
I use HostAway's standard one, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm going to talk to you about that offline, because I use HostAway as well, and we're trying to figure out if we should go with the standard one, or we were speaking to what are they called again? That Booking Direct, Mark Simpson's company. I forget what the Erroneous, but be cool to talk to you about that off camera here. I think one of the things you said was interesting was you have different locks everywhere. Now, was that because it was a factor of some of them are co-hosted, so the owner kind of chose something different from what you use?
No, well, it was me trying out which one would be best. So I have some Lockley Visions. In this house, I have Lockley Visions, and I didn't realize when I got it that they don't have any kind of motion sensor. The only time the video starts recording or actually sees who's there is if they ring the doorbell. It's like, well, what's the point of that?
Yeah, exactly.
I want to see, other things, or if I do check the logs, I'm not like one of those guys who's always checking, but if there is some kind of discrepancy, I want to be able to go back and be like, oh yeah, you did bring in 20 people, or whatever the case is, right? And I have a lot of the quick set halos, which I love a lot, but they don't work with remote key, or remote lock, whatever that company is. I have the Slage Encodes, Slage, Slage, Slag, whatever. And also some of the Yale locks as well. So one of these days, once I find the one lock to rule them all, I will replace everything with the same thing and have it all connect. So that will be my like, oh moment.
Yeah, it's so true because it is so annoying when there's four different locks, all kinds of different notifications, and you can't bundle them all. That's why with ours, even if it's our co-hosting, we buy all the digital, we buy all the tech, the security tech for our clients. So that way they get free tech, but for us, everything stays universal. And so
Mm,
we don't, and
smart.
everything can stay on the same app. Have you heard of a company called Wise? WYZE?
Yep, I've got a couple of those as well.
How do you like them?
Those are fine. They're a little cheaper. They're I would say a little less robust.
Hmm.
But I don't have any of the locks. I just have the cameras
Right,
at one
right.
property, and I use those because one of my co-hosts uses those at his houses, and he loves them. So yeah, it's just finding out what works for you, right?
Absolutely.
And you start where you're at. You start with what you've got, and then you build it from there.
Fantastic. This show has completely flown by in time, so I don't even have a chance for all the fun stuff. What's next for you? You're already at 10, you're already at 11. Where have you set your bar, and what can we expect from you the next year here?
I really want to. I forgot to mention I'm taking my real estate exam as well soon. So one of the things I want to do with that is more investing and kind of using that to my advantage as well. So I really want to start, next year, probably doing more purchasing for investment purposes and uh, getting really unique listings and really just cool, different spaces. Some of mine are cool. Like at this house where I have 2 rooms that I rent out, there's music gear everywhere. People love that. I have a musician here right now who's just loves all my guitars, and stuff. But uh, I I want something cool like that Idaho potato one, or
Yeah.
uh, a bunker that looks really cool, or a tree house, or a resort right on the beach. Um, I like what, even though this sounds so petty, uh, every house that I get in San Diego is like a few blocks closer to the beach because I want a beachfront property and I don't have it yet. So every single one has been like a little bit closer, a little bit closer. So now I'm 3 blocks from the beach in San Diego. So the next one has got to be on the sand. So that's another goal for next year.
That's awesome. And then as you slowly get closer to the beach in Tijuana,
Exactly. Conquer that market as well.
that's great. I love that you're taking your real estate exam, which actually makes me think, what if you would recommend, what would be your top three resources that you're learning right now, whether it's books, podcasts, or YouTube channels? What are the top three things that got your interest right now?
Tons of podcasts, tons of I think YouTube videos for the most part, even a lot of like Instagram and Reels and TikTok videos for DIY home design has been really cool.
Yeah, TikTok's
Um,
great. TikTok's got the best home design, home hacking designs.
I know
It's like the
everybody
ultimate platform.
everybody craps on it, but it's so great for finding out great design tips and DIY stuff. It's amazing. Personally, I got so burnt out creating content for when I was doing music that I was just like, you know what? I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to be a content creator 24/7. I want to live my life behind the scenes. So you won't see me posting as much, maybe once a week or something on something cool that I'm working on. But I love having that time for me and not feeling like I need to record everything for the gram, right?
Right.
One other thing that I'm really passionate about is sponsorships. So I just did a little sponsorship deal with Public Goods, the company, and where they're giving me wholesale and discount pricing on all their products, which are just really cool. They look great. They're biodegradable. They're not tested on animals. All this good stuff. And I'm outfitting kind of all of my units with Public Goods shampoos and hand soaps and stuff like that. And I want to get into doing more of that. Kind of co-branding deals, stuff like
Hmm.
that, to really
Hmm.
make my spaces like interesting and like unique to and
Very cool.
expensive. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Where can our audience find you? I know you have lots of different avenues. Where can they find you to follow for the Airbnb? But I also know that you have the foundation that you're working with music. So where can they find you in all the channels?
So I think the easiest way is to just Google my name. I'm way too easy to find. It's Gabe Kubanda. My Kubanda Properties is where you'll find all the cars and the houses. Edu Musication, that's education with music in the middle, edumusication.org is my nonprofit. And we're doing a lot of music inspiration and career driven mindset kind of stuff for music, for kids who want to pursue music. And a lot of the life lessons that I teach to those kids also kind of translates to just having a career in general and kind of those building blocks of success, and how to kind of navigate those pathways. And of course, Spotify, YouTube for my music videos. Just type in Gabe Kubanda, and I'll be having a bunch of new music out this coming year. And yeah, I'd love to answer any questions as well. So if you guys are putting questions in the chats, I can answer those or later as well.
For sure. We'll send those questions over. Completely out of time. This is probably the fastest show that's ever gone by. So Gabe, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for showing the internet and showing the audience that you can still make it. And I think you're a perfect example of just being resilient, of just, playing with the cards you're dealt. And as long as you have a vision, as long as you have grit, tenacity, you can make it work. The tools are out there. You can go through it. And for the audience out there, if you guys are wondering if now is a good time to start, we have an amazing YouTube channel. We have more free content than anybody else on the interwebs. So check us out on the YouTube channel. Sean Rakajic. For those of you who maybe have already been starting an Airbnb business, and maybe you're trying to think, what's the next step? How can I scale? How can I get these systems? How can we get up to 10 plus properties? You can book a strategy call with our team. We'd be more than happy to talk to you about your business. We have amazing tools, both paid and free, and we'll be happy to lead you through to the next step. There's a link that you guys can click. In the meantime, want to thank our guest this week, Gabe Kubanda. You're an absolute pleasure to speak with. Your listings are absolutely beautiful. For the guests out there who are wondering, you can click his profile, take a look at the cars, take a look at the properties. Can't wait to see the Tijuana property.
Woo! Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you guys so much. And yeah, we'll see y'all soon.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, and have a great week. Till next time.